Hi there. Welcome to our first Parents Tell All webinar for YouSchool. For you near and far, thanks for joining in. And when I was getting ready to think about connecting with parents for YouSchool today, I wrote a little list down. I have 3 kids, and here's the things my wife and I have talked about in the last 24 hours about our 3 kids. Here's the different conversations we've been having. Public or private school? Should we keep them in public school? Is this going well for them? Should we think about the private school down the street? My son starts 2nd grade. Our daughter just started kindergarten. Our daughter already has homework. And we need to go out and get all the supplies that she needs. Starting soccer practice. I'm a soccer coach, coaching my girls, my daughter Grace's 5-year-old soccer team. And the question of the day yesterday, are we going to continue in the rec league, or are we going to go to the private league? Does he have a chance? Is he an all-star? That kind of thing. We talked about who their friends are, who they're hanging out with in school. We've had a conversation about what goes on in the neighbor's house. Do we feel comfortable having our kids over there? We've talked about organic food. We've talked about dye-free diapers for our 1-year-olds. We've talked about BPA in their water bottles. We've talked, are they spoiled and entitled and lazy? Do we need to teach them how to do more chores? Do our teachers know them? Are we saving for college? And what do we need to do next for vaccines? That is all in the last 24 hours, and they are in 2nd grade and kindergarten. So it kind of brings up the conversation for you. Presumably a lot of the people listening in have teenagers. What kind of parent are you? When you think about the kind of parenting style that you have, this is essentially the conversation that my wife and I are having. What kind of parent are you? Are you disengaged? Are you cool? Are you relaxed? Are you kind of controlling and helicopter, even if you don't like that term? What kind of parent are you? And what kind of kid do you have? Probably more importantly, does your parenting style match your kid's life? And like us, we've got 3 of them. We've got 3 little kids trying to figure out what to do with them. Before starting YouSchool a couple years ago, I spent 10 years working with college students all across San Diego, all the elite schools. And over those 10 years, I spent a lot of time working with college seniors. And I think there's a theory when you send your kids off to school that they're going to learn everything, that they're going to get what they need, that all the stuff that you've been hoping to instill in them is going to happen. That's why you send them away. That's why you save. That's why you do college applications and essays and SAT prep. That's why you do all that stuff, so that they can grow up into adulthood. And I think we have the assumption that when they go off to school, that stuff's going to happen really well. When you think about your kid, you might think academically. You might think what kind of friends are they hanging out with? You might think of their health. You might think of different things. But when you think about your kid and their future, thinking about them being happy, that's probably the main thing that kids say to us, that our parents tell us they want us to be happy. How do you define happiness for your kids? What is well-being? And well-being, of course, is, are they doing well in school? Are they doing okay? Are they getting their homework done? Are they taking initiative? Are they being the kind of students that we hope that they would be? But well-being is more than that. Emotional well-being. Are they becoming who you want them to become? Are they grounded in themselves? So just reading an article last night about the severe rise in teenage depression, particularly amongst girls, around the pressures of school. Are they doing okay emotionally? Are your kids doing okay spiritually? Are they doing okay with friends, socially? We're already deep into that, even with our little kids, kind of helping them navigate conflict resolution, and who are you spending time with, and are you being kind and loving? All those kinds of things. When you think about your kid in the future, assuming that all of your influence at this point is kind of done, it's got its expiration date, what concerns you about your kid? What concerns you about who they're going to become? Financially, are they going to be okay? Emotionally, are they going to be okay? Are they going to find the right person that they want to spend the rest of their lives with? Are they going to become the people that you hope they could become? Yesterday I was having lunch with my mom and had this powerful conversation about the ways that she and my dad raised me and did that work and to really think about the things that she wanted to instill into me. We had this great conversation about did those things happen? And I could say, yeah, I learned a lot of the values and lessons and principles. But for me, I don't know how it happens in your family. When I had a son, I really, really, really wanted him to play baseball. But I didn't want to be that dad that forced him to play the sports that I wanted to play. So I went to an older friend of mine that has 4 boys. And this older friend of mine is in his 60s. He played minor league baseball, and then all 4 of his sons played baseball through college. 2 of them went on to play minor league baseball too. And so I went to this friend when my son was born. I said, hey, how did you get your sons, all of them, to play baseball? Because that's what I want to do. And I don't want to be a controlling helicopter kind of dad. And he said, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about, because you don't want to pressure them. You don't want to make them do what you wanted to do. You don't want to kind of relive your dreams through them. I said, yeah. And he goes, well, every time one of my sons turned 5, I would sit down in front of them and I would hand them, give them a choice, which sport they wanted to play. And on one side of the table, I'd put a baseball glove. And on the other side of the table, I'd put a baseball bat. And I said, you pick which you wanted to play. And the point is, yeah, he was controlling. The point is, he forced his kids to play. For me and my family, it wasn't like that. I didn't have anyone who ever told me this is what you do, and this is how our family operates, and this is what you're going to do with your life, and these are the ways that we will be happy with you. But I got the message. I think without even saying, what we think and what we expect for you, we pass on messages to our kids of expectations. For us, we just call it the story. That there are stories that we pass on to our kids to say, this is the way we want you to live your life. This is the way that we would be really happy with you. For me and my family, if you looked at family tree, you'd see bankers, accountants, finance people, and that's it. Grandparents, grandmas, grandfathers, uncles, dad, all in finance or accounting or banking. Big deviation there. So for me growing up, I just decided to do the same thing. I wanted to be an accountant like my dad. I wanted to go into finance. I wanted to have a really nice lifestyle. I wanted to be seen as successful. And without really doing any sort of interpersonal conversation or deep examination, I just saw that I was good at math and I liked making money and I wanted to be successful, and that was enough for me. And what I've been noticing with college students is that there's an intense amount of pressure. There's a lot of pressure to make choices really early. A lot of colleges are asking you to essentially declare your major upon just applying for the school. Even the school itself probably lends itself towards one particular path or a limited number of paths. And students are being bombarded with things. They're really good students so far. They're really good at school. I love this quote. I saw this yesterday. Our system of elite education manufactures young people who are smart and talented and driven, yes, but also anxious, timid, and lost, with little intellectual curiosity and a stunted sense of purpose, trapped in a bubble of privilege, heading meekly in the same direction, great at what they're doing, but with no idea why they're doing it. I'd say that's true when I've spent time with college freshmen and college seniors. The freshmen actually have a lot more clarity about who they are and where they're headed. At least if you ask them, they'll tell you an answer. I chose this school because of this reason. I'm going into this major because of this. But what I see with college seniors is a lot more lostness. Because they've been, by and large, successful in school, but they've also been busy, they've been anxious, they've been fearful. And when I received them, when I saw them as seniors, I remember a guy came up to me 2 weeks before graduating, and he said, hey, I heard my friends told me you're the guy I'm supposed to talk to help me figure out what to do with my life after college. And I wasn't in a particularly good mood that day. I'm not sure what was kind of bothering me, but I said, yeah, you're graduating 2 weeks, right? And he said, yeah. I said, well, what are you planning to do? What's your plan? And he said, I don't have a plan. That's why I'm coming to talk to you. I said, well, what have you been doing for 16 years? And he said, well, I've been in school. I've been studying. I've been doing what I'm supposed to do. And I think that's where the major theory breaks down, that we're going to send our kids off to this institution and they're going to come back fully aware of who they are, with a clear plan and dream of who they want to be, and with the knowledge of the steps to take to get there. And I think our message is different. For message for YouSchool, we have this very clear kind of idea. Don't let anybody else write your story. Don't. And this isn't like a conflict with your parents, but you're already living out a story. You've already kind of come from a place, from a neighborhood, and from a socioeconomic class, and from a high school, and you've grown up in a certain set of experiences and values, and that may or may not be a good thing, but you're already doing that. You're already living out of the expectations people have for you. You need to become aware of that, because who you are today is who you're going to be tomorrow, and it really shapes all the decisions that you're making now. So what we want to do is help come alongside students and say, don't let anybody else write your story. You're the one that's in charge. And if there's one thing I've heard from parents almost every day since we started YouSchool was, my kid doesn't seem to be motivated, or my kid doesn't seem to know why they're doing what they're doing, and I'm worried that they're going to be so successful that they're going to wake up one day and be really unhappy. It's just a sense of lack of clarity. And what the main thing I think students are told is two things. On one hand, everyone says, find your passion, find your purpose, live out your calling. And really students are hearing that from elementary school, middle school, high school, definitely into college. Find your purpose, find your passion, do your thing. And I remember one kid saying, I've heard that 1,000 times, 2,000 times. I get it. I want to follow my passions. I want to live out my purpose. But nobody has helped me understand how to do that. And in a lot of ways, that's what the glaring lack of education is, where we've essentially fit in. It seems so obvious to us that you can go to school for 16 years and take any class under the sun, from the joke of underwater basket weaving to sports and film, and the history of goats in New Zealand. There's all these different classes, but there's not a class for students to figure themselves out. Who is helping people make informed decisions about who they are, to be true to themselves, and step into the life that they're supposed to live? That we can't find people or programs or classes, and therefore we started YouSchool. So I want to tell you how it works. That's often what the question is. How does YouSchool work? We were really kind of basing ourselves on a theory of looking at people that have really gone through the transition from high school to college and then college to career exceptionally well. And I'll just tell you that's not that many people. But looking at those folks, we just see these ingredients. We just see these parts of them that are extremely noticeable. They're very remarkable compared to their peer set. On one hand, you have self-confidence. Self-awareness. You have people that know where they've come from, know what's shaped them, know who they are, what they want, what they're good at, what they're not good at. There's a sense of awareness, like a definition to themselves. And that always comes across as confident, and rarely does it come across as cocky or arrogant or entitled or narcissistic. It just, to me, when we've seen this, it just seems like they're really confident. They know what they're doing, they know why they're doing it, and they know where they're headed. And when you get to that place, what we see is these very mature young people who are making choices for themselves for very clear reasons. We would say the right reasons, out of a clear sense of who they are. And there's also a part of that too, and I know a lot of parents get really concerned about this, of getting off the payroll. That ultimately, as parents, we love our kids and we want to see them thrive and grow, but we also want to stop paying for them. There's just a part of growing up that everybody agrees that you need to take care of yourself. You need to do what you got to do to take care of yourself. And when we've seen that, when we've seen somebody that goes, that kind of has that, we see people that are fully responsible for themselves, not listening to what other people want them to do, or the expectations, or I guess this is what my major leads me to, or I guess this is what my older brother did, or I don't know what else to do, so I might as well pick something. Like, we don't see that. We see people with a really clear path who are marching forward. That's ultimately the theory and the formula for what we see and how we've shaped the program. So here's the program. Here's what we send students through. There's a lot of self-reflection. We spent a year in kind of pilot development before even launching YouSchool. honestly examining why other programs don't work. And I'd say the glaring problem with other programs, I'm not thinking of anything specifically, but it's the lack of self-reflection. When do you get the time and the space to really think about yourself? And not just think about yourself, because that might turn into navel-gazing or narcissism, but guided sense of sitting with yourself. Questions. YouSchool at its core is a set of questions. We don't have an acronym about the 12 steps to success. We don't have really any fill in the blank. We don't make students say, here's what you have to do to blank succeed in life. Everyone writes succeed. We don't do that. We have a series of questions that we think are the right questions because we've spent a lot of time with a lot of people refining them. And the questions flow in a sequence, and we'd say the right sequence. And for anybody, particularly young people, they need to have a sense of how they got to where they are. And almost 40% of YouSchool is kind of orienting you to yourself, coming to an awareness of who you are now and what are the circumstances, the people, how did you get here? Who shaped you? Who told you who you are? What events, what evidence do you have? All that stuff of like your past, looking backwards. And it's not just looking backwards, but it's looking inwards. So most of the time we're focused on the externals as students and in education, your test scores and your grades and your calendar. We spend a lot of time with students through YouSchool looking inward. What are your strengths and the ways that you've triumphed in the past? But also, what are the weaknesses that you have? What are the fears that kind of haunt you? What are the secrets that you hold on to? What are the failures that have already kind of told you that you're not good enough or you'll never make it in that particular area? Who has said stuff about you, and what have you kind of already internalized? And our theory is, as you look into that, deal with that stuff now. Deal with that stuff now. Get to know who you are now so that you're making more informed choices and decisions in the future. So there's a looking backward, there's a looking inward, and then there's certainly a looking forward. And for us with YouSchool, looking forward involves having a real good dream and vision for your life. But it comes out of the real you. It doesn't come out of a sense of I just want to do anything, or you could do anything you want to do when you grow up. Or people that say I want to be a star, or I want to be an NBA, and the person listening to them realizes you're only 5'3" and you can't dunk, and your work ethic is not great. It's not giving them a dream or letting them articulate a dream that's just completely ungrounded in reality. For us, we want to take students through this self-discovery journey to get to know themselves, so that when they start thinking about the future, it's out of reality. It's from who they are. So there's a lot of self-reflection, and there's a lot of conversations with peers. There's something really powerful about learning how to talk about yourself with your friends, with your peer group, and then learning how to listen to them. Sharing vulnerably and listening for feedback. Those are very powerful things that rarely happen and yet shape so much of what we do. We also, for every student, help them set up and identify who are the people in your life, we call them advisors, who are the people in your life that deserve airtime, that deserve the opportunity to give you feedback and advice. It's probably not everybody. It's in some ways, there's people that are already giving you advice that you actually need to turn down the volume towards. But who are the people, the 2, 3, 4 people that are already in your world, that are really shaping you, they're really supporting you, they're really helping you become who you're supposed to become, like all that stuff. And how do you as the student take initiative to go and ask them to give you advice, to go and initiate to get them to be mentors and advisors for your life? And again, it's not just the point of having advisors, but it's having the right questions to ask advisors, and it's the right sequence of conversations to have. What we see with students is they do the self-reflection, have conversations with peers, and then go and get feedback and share these things with advisors. We see that the students, their normal everyday environment of who they spend time with and who shapes them most is actually being reformed and reshaped, and I'd say transformed. Because a lot of the times, parents and teachers and coaches and friends don't feel like they have the permission or don't know how to share what they think about the other person. And through YouSchool, it's the students taking initiative to go and ask and say, what do you think about me? Or with this set of strengths and these kinds of values, and this kind of dream for my life. Where do you think I can go with that? What are my options? You know more than I do. Can you help me see that? And all of that is really facilitated by one of our YouSchool guides. And we just get to work with really phenomenal people, these YouSchool guides, people that really understand how to work with students, that are already pretty far along the journey of authenticity themselves. They already know who they are, they already know what they want, and these guides really help students point out the ways that they're perhaps not being vulnerable, the ways that they need to go a little bit further. But more than anything else, these guides affirm and bless and speak truth and confidence into students. And the guides are phenomenal. All of that turns into what we would say are really important outcomes. Back to that formula, we would say the outcomes of YouSchool, what happens to students as they come through YouSchool, is that students come out and they say, this is my life, and I'm in charge, and I'm responsible. Nobody else is. And not only that sense of ownership and self-responsibility, personal responsibility, but with a lot of awareness of who they are and who they're not and who they want to be. When students come out of YouSchool, they have created and owned an articulated set of values and principles on their own, not necessarily from their parents. So most of the time it is, but it's for them. It's like, who are you going to be, and how are you going to declare that, and what are you going to do about that? Students have learned through YouSchool how to have real conversations about the things that matter the most. And when we see students kind of before and after start talking about themselves, it's very shallow and it's very uncomfortable. Students, they'll say every single time we run a YouSchool class, yeah, we never talk like this. There's no time, there's no space, we don't know how, we've never done this before. Students going through YouSchool, they learn how to talk about themselves, and we think that really matters and carries on with them. The term I've been using for what they come out of with YouSchool is a sober dream. They have a sober dream for their life. A sober dream means they're not inebriated. They're not just, it's not a wish. It's not just maybe someday I'll be a doctor, even though I am terrible at science and math and my work ethic is pretty shoddy. They might say, gosh, there's something about healthcare, there's something about helping people, there's something about that whole industry, there's something about solving problems, because I'm always attracted to problems. There's something about working with people. They get this sense of clarity enough to say, when I look at the future, it's not just career, it's who am I going to be, and who am I going to spend time with, and how am I going to spend my money, and how am I going to how am I going to be engaged in a community? What kind of friend am I going to be? It's the entire sense of well-being, a sober dream of you in 20 years. And finally, what they come out of YouSchool with is a really actionable life plan. And it's a plan that makes sense. It's these are the different parts of my life that I want to see grow. I want to see change. I want to see potential. I want to see growth. And we help them think through tactically, what are you going to need to do to get there? Very simply, to have a student make the observation that perhaps I could pay more attention to my teachers in school because I want to get into a certain kind of profession, or I want to be someone that feels proud of themselves. And for the student to say, so tomorrow I'm going to ask a question in class. That is so different. The ownership of that is so infinitely different, even though that's probably the same thing you've been telling your kids the entire time. There's something about the self-discovery journey that just sticks more, and it goes deeper, and it lasts longer. So finally, I just want to share, how do you get involved? How do you kind of get into YouSchool? We really have two programs, two ways to do it. One is the one-on-one programs. One of our guides with your student around your schedule, your kid's schedule, and it's where the guide meets with the student about 5 times, and the student goes off and does the self-reflection and has conversations with advisors, comes back to the guide and really looks for themes and patterns and looks for challenge and looks for affirmation. And it's incredibly powerful. And we've really started to do it more so out of the need for flexibility around people's schedules. Just the craziness of kids' schedules, especially during the school year, even in the summer, it's a lot. So The one-on-one program is very flexible, but it's also very customized to you. It's whatever you're dealing with, whatever your student's working through, whatever your student wants to talk about. But then we also have a group program, and we've done group programs in high schools, middle schools. We've done it in colleges. We've done it with Navy SEALs. We've done this group program where it's one guide and a bunch of students, from as small as 7 or 8 to as big as 35. And what we're seeing is a lot of parents are starting to say, gosh, my school right now, we wish it had a program like this. We wish it had a class, but they don't yet. So parents are gathering together and forming their own class, calling YouSchool, sending us an email and saying, if we had 10 students who wanted to start a class in the next month, can you send us a guide? And absolutely, the answer is yes. So we can help you set up a class, set up a group program for your kids. And finally, there's lots of ways to get connected with us. I think hosting me as a speaker, to PTA groups, to a group of parents. I've, in the last couple months, spent 4 or 5 occasions where just literally someone in their home invites a bunch of parents over just to hear about YouSchool and to talk together as parents and share some concerns and to set up a program. That's a fun thing for us to do. Also to speak to student groups, to do kind of the school assembly approach, to retreats and conferences, do that really often. But what we love for you to do is a couple things. One, if this makes sense, this is something that you want for your kids, then go on our website, sign up for the one-on-one program, inquire about setting up a group for your school or in your community, church, Boys and Girls Club, any kinds of places like that, even boardrooms, even people's homes. But also share. In a lot of ways, there's SAT prep. There's just the regular, normal, you have to do this to get to the next phase of life. In our vision and our dream for YouSchool, it's that YouSchool is like SAT prep, but it's prep for life. Why would you ever consider sending your kid to college without a clear sense of why? Why would you ever start even looking at colleges without a clear sense of where they're headed? It just doesn't make sense. So we would love for you to share the message. We love to get the word out to other parents. We have taken enough students through, over 1,000, to recognize that the program works. It works with very different demographics. It works with very different situations. And we're seeing tremendous impact. And so we're ready to grow. We're ready to connect. And primarily, we're ready to serve. So share this little webinar that's recorded on our website. Share the link with some friends, and make sure you sign up for our weekly email and all the stuff that we'll be pushing out by way of workshops and other online things. And so thank you for your time. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being interested in YouSchool. And we just love parents. We want to help parents come alongside their kids and help their kids become who they're supposed to become. We don't really want to see kids in 10 years or 20 years turn around and say, gosh, why did I do this? Or I wasn't thinking, or I never knew why I was getting into it. I just did it automatically. We want fully awake, fully alive, fully self-aware people making the right decisions. And that's our big dream, that you can figure yourself out. You can figure yourself out now, and you can start making better choices today. So thanks for your time. Blessings to you.